Thank you so much for joining me. This is MG with OK11. I'm the Education and Outreach Liaison. I thought I had unmuted my microphone, so let me tell you a little bit about me. I am the Education Outreach Liaison. What today's presentation is going to be over damage prevention and excavation safety. It is kind of a high level or overview of that information. Some of you may have seen it before. Use this opportunity to ask questions, dive into more of the questions that you may have, or just use it as a refresher so that you can share the information with those in the industry, whether it's the excavators or our member companies that are on site. If you haven't used our system before, the interface is pretty self-explanatory, but that orange arrow, that is to open or minimize your interface. So if it disappears on you, click that orange arrow, it'll open right back up. And then you can ask questions at any time. I am manning this webinar today by myself, but I will look at those questions towards the end so that we can cover those. So who is OK11? Well, we provide quality underground damage prevention services. We began in 1979. We are a nonprofit organization. We are not a charitable nonprofit organization. We are a member-based nonprofit organization. What that means is that those who are owners and operators of underground facilities that receive those locate requests, they pay for that service so that we can cover the operating costs to provide those damage prevention services. We do have a board of directors made up of 8 representatives from the member companies, and then our operating committee, which is a 16-person committee made up of key industry advisors. That could be both our member companies as well as some excavation companies and third parties such as locating companies. We work with volunteers across the state to promote damage prevention awareness. And then we currently have 62 employees. A majority of those are going to be our contact center staff, and then the corporate staff, which is myself in education, also our business, accounting, IT, GIS, member services, all those departments as well. We have been voted Oklahoma Top Workplace actually 6 of the last 7 years, last 2 years in a row. That announcement just came out a couple days ago. And our office is in Oklahoma City. We moved to our new building in 2017. Hopefully, as things get back to normal, you can come visit us sometime soon. The Oklahoma Underground Facilities Damage Prevention Act is the foundation of where OK11 came from. It pretty much sums up everything into 2 major statements. First is that all operators of underground facilities should participate in this one call notification center. What participation requires is letting us know geographically where those underground assets are located, and then what personnel to notify when digging is going to take place near those underground assets. And for it to work, we do need to know when digging is going to take place. So the second statement is that the excavators must give no more than 10 days notice nor less than 48 hours, excluding the date of notification, Saturdays, Sundays, and legal holidays. Quick example, if I call in on a Monday to put in a locate request, then the earliest that I could dig would be Thursday morning at 7 a.m. Monday and Tuesday, Monday would be the date of notification, so that's excluded. Tuesday and Wednesday would be the 48 hours. Thursday morning at 7 a.m. would be the earliest. However, if on that same phone call, I say that I'm not going to be digging until Friday at 10 a.m., then the locate is not good until Friday at 10 a.m. Because I'm giving more than 48 hours notice and less than 10. So I can set the work to begin date and time on that phone call, and the ticket's not valid until the time given by the excavator, as long as it's within 10 days nor less than 48 hours, excluding the date of notification and holidays and weekends. So a lot of people ask, what does this look like? This mapping is the easiest way to explain it. That's how telecommunications is registered throughout the state. Here's our pipeline, and then our electric services, rural water systems, municipalities and utilities that they provide. and then other. These are usually like campuses, hospitals, some private farms or ranches. And then here's that throughout the state. And as you can tell, there's always service area pretty much throughout the state. So anytime digging is going to take place, it is very important to give us a call or contact us prior to that digging to take place. So this is how it all works. It starts with that contacting of Okie 811. You may have noticed through our marketing that we don't use call Okie very often, or call 811. Although that is an option for you, 70% of all of our locate requests are placed through our website or through our mobile app. So give us a call, go online or use the app no more than 10 days, no less than 48 hours, excluding data notification, weekends and legal holidays. For just general purpose, just as a reminder, most people just say 3 business days. It's just a lot easier to remember, because that way you're always calling at least 3 business days ahead, so you're getting ahead of the locate request. During that conversation with our contact center representative or customer service representative, they're going to process that excavator's request. They're going to map out the dig site described by the excavator and then provide a ticket number to the excavator as a copy of their request, where they're going to send out notifications. Those notifications are going to be sent to the members in that respective area. An average of 6 members are notified per ticket. Last year we did just shy of 1 million tickets, so almost 6 million locate requests went out to our member companies. Then the member companies to respond prior to the work to begin, date and time. Again, that would be at least 48 hours, not including the date of notification and weekends, or when the excavator gave, if it is more than that, but less than 10 days. So the member company is going to go out, mark the approximate location of the underground facilities using the APWA uniform color code with paint, flags, or states. They're going to communicate the status of that locate with the excavator. They're going to send an email or a phone call to let them know that it's all clear, that there's paint and flags on the ground, or if there's any difficulty accessing the area, or if they require an on-site meeting because of right-of-way regulations in that area, or to communicate because of confusing locate instructions. Then the excavator needs to confirm all the information that is there before digging. So they're going to wait the required time. Example, if that call was made for a Friday locate at 10 a.m., they need to wait until that time. They'll need to ensure the response is received by each member listed on the ticket, and they'll dig test holes to identify and properly protect that underground facility. A couple things to remember: Okie 811 is not the locating company. We are a notification center. So the calls that come in from the excavator to request that locate goes out to the member companies. Those member companies then are responsible for those lines being located. They may do that in-house with their own employees, or they may reach out and have a third party do those locating for them. Also, private lines are not marked through this service. Private line is anything that a utility company does not maintain. For example, if a additional electric run is made at your home because it goes from the house to another building or to the pool or what have you, those lines, since a third party install those and the utility doesn't maintain them, they may not get marked. So just keep that in mind. Obviously, the other private lines are non-utility lines like propane or sprinkler lines or other irrigation. So just a couple things to keep in mind. So if those private lines are on the property in the area that you intend to dig, you may need to make additional phone calls for private line locating, or hopefully your plumber or electrician will be able to discover those lines for you. As I mentioned earlier, 70% of all locate requests are put in through our mobile app or web ticket. Reasons are it's available 24/7. You can go on there at 2 o'clock in the morning and still be able to put in a locate request. You'll be able to view and update locate requests for the last 30 days submitted by your company. So if you and a coworker put in locate requests, or you're the project lead on that, if after a couple of updates you need to switch because one's going to another location, you can always set that up. You can just log in with the new person, take over the ticket, update it with your own information since you're of the same company. So that's really helpful. Also, there's the mapping that's available to pinpoint your dig site, and there are no hold times. If you need to dial 811, feel free to. Our office hours are Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. I always recommend calling us if you've never put in a web ticket or app ticket before. That way you're familiar with the process, the questions are going to be asked. It makes it just easier when you go to the digital side. If you need to call us after business hours, only emergency locate requests would be accepted by phone. Couple things to keep in mind for dialing us. You will always need to call us for emergency requests, second or third notices, demolition notices, damage report tickets, or wildland fire notifications. Wildland fire notifications and emergency requests are the ones that will be processed after hours. Here's an example of a dig site and how it overlaps service areas so we know who to notify when a digging is going to take place. So a pipeline company calls and they register their assets with us, and then we add a 500-foot buffer to that because of the Common Ground Alliance or CGA best practice. And so their service area here is about a 1,000-foot path for the duration of that pipeline. The next company is a well company. They provide us a point or center point data, and we add a 500-foot buffer around that. So as you can see, that dot with the 500-foot radius is now the service area of that well. And then a wind farm calls, and they have multiple wind turbines and electric running and all this stuff throughout the area. So instead of providing exact GIS map data, they provide us just quarter sections. And when a quarter section is used, as you probably know, they're a half mile by half mile square, or excuse me, quarter mile square. Half mile. I don't know why I changed that up. Half mile square. Then they would, we don't need to add a buffer to that. So any digging that's going to take place in that area, they'll receive a locate request. So an excavator calls, they inform us of their project. Our CSR or contact center representative will draw what's called a dig site polygon. A buffer of 300 feet is added to that dig site polygon. This is to provide that buffer to handle any discrepancies in that communication. So if the excavator is meaning to say a sixth of a mile and they said an eighth of a mile, this will help out. Or if the CSR just misunderstood, we have that buffer in place to be relatively close to where they wanted, but give a little bit of wiggle room, if you will, to make sure that all facilities in that area would be notified. And so in this area illustration, the pipeline, the well company, as well as that wind farm would all receive a locate for that work taking place. So let's talk about ticket types real quick. I know I rattled them off a while ago while I was talking about the ways to submit them. First of all, there's the normal or compliant locate request. They're compliant because they are compliant with the law. They're non-emergency. They're given the proper notice, and it is the first ticket on a project. An update ticket is when that project is going to take longer than 10 business days, and then it needs to be updated every 7th business day until the project is complete. In the example earlier, I gave the extension of my work to begin date and time started on Friday. So in that case, that Friday is day 1 of that 10-day window. So if I'm not going to be complete within 7 business days of that Friday, I will need to give a call to update the ticket to keep it going. Also, updates are required anytime the markings become washed out or unable to be figured out because of weather or what have you. So anytime you're unable to dig safely around markings, or if you're coming up to the 10th business day, you'll need to update every 7th business day until it's complete. An emergency locate request, exactly what it sounds like. It's an unavoidable situation that endangers life, health, or property. This does need to be a true emergency. That's the reason that we have them called in, so that we can have that justification. The justification of an emergency is twofold. One is the endangerment to life, health, or property. And 2 is the timing. The endangerment to life, health, and property means that digging has to take place. Otherwise, someone may lose their life, may get sick, or property would be damaged. So, for example, water main install is not, and a new install would not be an emergency. However, water main repair would be. Makes sense? So that's the first thing we look at, and then timing. We understand it's an emergency. However, we do want to give as much time as possible to the member companies to have an opportunity to help you stay safe as well as protect those underground facilities. So when that call is made, we're going to ask, when is digging going to begin? We want as much time as possible. So if you know that your crew isn't going to be able to get together until the following morning at 6 a.m. to finally get started on that project, then it's okay to still say it's an emergency and we're not going to begin until 6 a.m. Because it's still less than the 48 hours. It's still an endangerment to life, health, or property. It's still an emergency. By giving any time shorter than that, say 2 or 3 hours, and you're still not able to do that, what that does is that causes a chain reaction. The member companies who are receiving that emergency request is going off of the time given. So they're going to do everything they can to make sure that they're out there within 2 to 3 hours. That may put a strain on that workforce or workload and make it where they're not able to keep up with other emergencies that are digging earlier than 6 a.m. tomorrow morning, or throw off their schedule with routine or compliant locate requests when they could have easily prioritized a 6 a.m. the next day. The reason that I bring that up is it is now a understanding that member companies who have responded to fraudulent emergency locate requests do have the ability to send that invoice to the contractor or the person who requested that emergency request. So you want to make sure that your justification is true. And just because an emergency locate request is put in does not give you the ability or the green flag to dig without care. You'll still want to practice due diligence, do all your safe digging practices that you know of. Try to do your best to prevent damage and prevent injury. And like I said earlier, wildland fire notifications, they are an emergency request as well. This is when a wildland fire is going on, and then there's a command center that the member companies will need to report to where their underlying facilities are, so in case any fire breaks are being dug or anything like that. So be on the lookout for those as well if needed. Second or third notice. This is a cricket ticket is what I like to call it. The normal compliant ticket was put in. They were waited the required time. The work to begin date and time has passed, and they haven't heard anything from a member company, whether it's an email, phone call, or painter flags on the ground. So they put in a second notice. So it's just a reminder to that member company to come out and mark the area. Because it is a second or third notice and they've already waited the required time, they're to give their notice again as much time as possible before digging needs to take place to give that member company an opportunity to respond. But it does not have to be 48 hours or 24 hours. It could be any time before digging is going to take place. And a third notice happens when a second notice has been put in and they've waited at least 24 hours since that second notice before with no response as well, and they'll put in a third or subsequent notice. Demolition tickets. This is just an additional notice that's required when demolition permits have been given. 7 business days. This gives the member companies the opportunity to disengage from the structure, make sure that everything's good there, and then 2 days prior to the demolition, another ticket it needs to be called in for the actual line locating. This is to ensure lines are marked for heavy equipment or any excavation that's going to take place. Non-compliant locate requests. None of you are going to do this because you're checking out this webinar today and now you know. But a non-compliant locate request typically comes from our homeowners who rent equipment over the weekend and did not know about the 3 business days. So they'll call us on a Thursday about trees going in on Saturday. But a non-compliant locate request is just what it sounds like. It is not compliant with the law. Because there has not been enough notice given to the member companies, it is not a valid locate request, and any damages that occur because of a non-compliant locate request is the liability of the person excavating in that area without a valid locate request. The damage report ticket, this is not a locate request type, but however, it is a notification. This is where anybody can report damage to lines, exposed lines, damaged signs, that kind of stuff. And it is not claiming responsibility for the damage, it's just letting us know of discovery. That way we can notify the proper member companies in the area, and that way hopefully repairs can be done as well. As I mentioned earlier, OKA 1 has been around since 1979. The Oklahoma Underground Facilities Damage Prevention Act went into effect in 1982. So there's been a lot that has happened over the 40 years, right? And so there's a lot of things in the law that maybe there's some gray areas. And so that's where these best practices come into play to fill in those gaps, if you will. And so this is kind of the area where I kind of go over that. First of all, always plan your work. Stay away from those non-compliant tickets. Give the proper notification so that the member companies can communicate where that underground facility is. You'll also want to provide accurate and specific information concerning the site and the extent or scope of the work. If you're putting in a mailbox, there's no need to have the backyard located, correct? So it's just a matter of understanding what the locate request is being done for and the scope of work and how long it's going to be, what type of, if it's electric work, if it's plumbing work, those kinds of things, so that the locators, when they're coming out, can provide the best information they can on how to safely prevent damage in that area. We do need the contact information of the person excavating the site. There's two reasons that we always bring this up. One, as a homeowner or property owner, if you contract out work to a third party, a fencing company, a landscaping company, a plumber, they are the ones who should be calling in the locate request. They're the ones who's going to actually be doing the excavation. Because of that, that keeps your name away from it. So if damages do occur, the ticket points to who was in the area. Also, the other reason that we always want the contact information of the person excavating the site is in excavating companies that are large enough to where they'll have office personnel or somebody else putting their locate request for them, that's fine. However, when a question comes up from a locator reaching out to the excavator, they want to be able to talk to that person who's actually doing work in the area. Oftentimes, a office personnel may never have been to that job site, doesn't even know what the backyard looks like or where that pipeline is supposed to run or whatever the case may be for that locate. So being able to call out to the excavator on site helps that communication tremendously. Speaking of helping out that communication, there's always white lining. White lining is outlining the dig site with white paint to provide locators a precise location of your job. Again, if you're putting in a mailbox and they're without a white paint, you may have someone mark up your entire front yard. Put in white paint, say, hey, my mailbox is going to go right here by the driveway. Then that way they can point that out and locate that area much quicker. A copy of the ticket should be on the job site, especially when working around pipelines. If you're not familiar, the Oklahoma Corporation Commission is the enforcement authority of excavation around pipelines. So a copy of the ticket should be on the job site in case of any spot checks or just to show that you do have a valid locate request when asked from utility companies in that area. You'll want to be able to determine the location of the underground facilities. This is going to be done by digging test holes or doing hand vacuum excavation. And my dog is very concerned about this one, so I hope that wasn't too distracting. But yeah, take the time to find the location of the underground facilities within 2 feet either side of the paint or flat so that you can make sure that they are there. If there's any underground facilities that cannot be found, notify us, put in that second notice that will go back out to that member company so that they can come out and communicate where those locations are. Once the facilities are exposed, you want to protect and support them. If you haven't done our A11 certification, I highly recommend doing that, but it kind of goes into detail about how to protect and support those exposed facilities throughout the project. If any damages occur, notify us immediately so that we can notify the member companies so they can help with any repairs that may be necessary. And common sense statement of today, do not backfill a damaged area. Even if it's just a nick or a scrape or a bend, you may not realize just how much integrity that may change once the weight of the dirt goes back on. Could bend a fiber, could open a pipeline, could cause a leak, tons of things that could happen. So do not backfill a damaged area. Then there's the tolerance zone. Tolerance zone is a twofold understanding. Tolerance zone first begins by the locator's tolerance. What that is, the 2 feet either side of the paint or flags when digging straight down should be where you find the location of the underground facility. Once the facility is found, then the tolerance zone for heavy equipment is 2 feet either side of the outside wall of that underground facility. So in this case, we see the yellow flags in paint. This is a gas line that is being marked. You should be able to find that within 2 feet either side of it. As you dig down, once it is discovered, now no mechanical equipment should be used within a tolerance zone of 2 feet either side. If this pipeline is 1 foot wide, then that would be a 5-foot path that no mechanical or heavy equipment should be used until the line is exposed, protected, and supported based on the facility's rules. So to sum up everything, there's 5 steps for a safer excavation. First of all, contact OKA11 in plenty of time. Make sure that you're getting the proper notice, and then you'll want to wait that required time. That's number 2 here. Wait until the begin date and time on the ticket. In the example I gave, if it's Friday at 10 a.m., wait till Friday at 10 a.m. But it will be at least 48 hours, excluding the date of notification, weekends, and legal holidays. 3, confirm response. So you waited the required time, you're out there, you want to make sure that everybody in that area has responded to you. Also, if you see evidence of utility that isn't on your locate request or in your area that, like a telecommunication company was on the locate request, you see a pedestal here, but they marked 20 feet over there, then be sure to give us a call so we can put in a second notice, or to let us know that we can see if that utility, if they're not on your ticket, needs to be. Respect the marks, that's the 24 inches either side of the marking, and then obviously the tolerance zone once the utility has been discovered, and dig safely. Once there's only so much that can happen between the markings and exposure and protecting of the underground facility. Then once the true excavation begins, you'll want to dig safely to make sure that you're able to go home the next day, right? Or go home and come back to work the next day. So do that. If damages do occur, let us know immediately so that we can get that repair started for you. Damage prevention will always be a collaborative effort. It's not just one part of this industry. We're all stakeholders in protecting the excavators and those who do work on that, as well as our facility owners and the locating, as well as OKA11 providing the education. But all of them come together to keep everyone safe and to keep those underground facilities damage free. I want to say thank you. If you think of any questions or suggestions for future presentations, shoot me an email. My email address is really simple. It's just the word education@oka11.org. Let me know your thoughts so that we can start looking at different topics. I'm putting together our 2021 webinar schedule currently, still in the middle of that. So if you have any topics you want covered, shoot them my way. I'll look at it. Or if you need any dedicated training, let me know and we can look at that as well. One thing I do want to remind you of is that the online program for A11 certification, that is live. So far 188 people have been A11 certified this year. The certification takes about 2 hours to complete. There's 3 chapters to look over. and then there's the test at the end. Once you complete it, you become certified. And in the month of December, if you complete your 811 certification before the end of December, you will be entered into a drawing for a $100 gift card to Amazon. Last month we did it, and a gentleman named Miguel won the $100 gift card, and he's from the city of McAllister, so that was really cool. It was a lot of fun when I gave him a call to let him know that he won. So to find that training, just go to okie811.training, and we'll be happy to help you out. Let me see if anybody asks me any questions before I let you go. No? Okay. No questions have been sent my way. If you do have any, just shoot me an email. Like I said earlier, my email address is education@okie811.org. Again, I appreciate you taking the time today to check out this webinar presentation, and I appreciate everything you do for safe excavation and damage prevention in the state of Oklahoma. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.